Hello and welcome to Reimagine Engagement with Pardot. Thank you for joining us today to learn about B2B Marketing Automation for marketing and sales. Today we have with us two fantastic speakers to share information and stories with you. We have on the line Phil Simpson with Salesforce Pardot, one of our sales managers here, and we also have a fantastic client with us, Philip Hall, Director of Marketing and Communications at Borrego Solar. So I hope you'll stick around at the end to hear his success story. All right, Phil, you're off to the races.
Nice. Thank you very much, Laura. Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. Excited to be on this webinar today and dive into things. We are going to walk through a couple of things on this webinar today. It's essentially split into 4 different sections. We're going to do some thought leadership around the marketing industry and how it's evolved over the years. We're then going to dive in and take a look at our platform and show you some of the cool things we can do. Then we're going to hear from one of our customers, and then we're going to dive into a quick Q&A session. So I'd love to hear some questions from you all. But before I get started, we've got the most exciting slide here, our forward-looking statement slide. It's only exciting if you're in our legal department. I'm going to be making some forward-looking statements throughout the presentation today. Please make your purchase and investment decisions based on what's generally available within the product today. A quick deep dive into my introduction. So as Laura said, my name is Phil Simpson. I run SMB for the East for Salesforce Marketing Technology with a specific focus on Pardot. I've been with Pardot for just shy of 5 years now, and I love living, breathing, and talking to high-growth organizations about utilizing marketing technology to streamline their effectiveness. And we're also joined by one of our wonderful clients, effectively known as Pardatians. We've got Philip Hall on the line, Director of Marketing from Borrego Solar. Philip, would you just like to say a quick hello before we dive in?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to tell you a little bit about the success that we've had using this fantastic tool.
Fantastic, Philip. Well, we look forward to hearing from you later. But let's dive into a little bit of thought leadership around why we're here today, why you might be sitting on this webinar looking to learn more about the industry of technology when it comes to marketing. And one of the reasons why we're all here is because if you think about the way that buyers engage with your organization, it's really changed over the years. If you think about how you used to market to your prospects, your consumers back in the day, there were limited channels available for you to advertise, perhaps email, social, direct mail, some events, and there were limited touch points in which a prospect could engage with you. And you had more control over the sales process, the message, the education, how you maneuvered that prospect through the sales funnel. However, nowadays, there's an explosion of channels. There's so many different online ways to connect with your buyer. There's now review sites. You have to have your own website that is more dynamic. You have to be able to influence your buyer using a variety of different mediums, more mediums than you've ever had before. And the buyer's process is changing as well. They are becoming more and more distrusting of traditional channels. Prospects are doing their own research. In fact, industry research shows that 60% of the buying process is done by a prospect prior to them engaging with your organization. And by 2020, that's going to go up to 85%. And each buyer is different. Everybody's business runs differently. Everybody's after different things. So you have to come up with a way to not only know when and where you need to market, but adapting is really hard for this modern day buyer. So businesses have to organize this complex web of channels. But each touch point has to be personalized to the buyer that's making that journey and driving them towards sales, understanding the data, and using the data that you've got to tailor and improve your messaging. Because when a buyer comes to you, they want a smooth, seamless interaction with your organization, and the journey from research phase to sales phase to closing phase needs to be fluid and comfortable. So when we look at this, a lot of you are probably sitting there thinking, okay, I understand the philosophy behind that. And you're not alone. Lots of organizations understand that they need to adapt. But what should be happening versus what is actually happening is very different. So marketing is currently investing in different technology, different siloed tools, perhaps an email service provider, social interaction technology, perhaps a content management system. Sales is investing in CRM technology to sell better understand their buyers. But both departments are struggling to interact with their buyers. So only 14% of marketing folks actually think they're capable of using this modern approach and using the technology they have to adapt to the buyer. And what's even worse is even when marketing gets it right, when it's handed over to sales, only 20% of sales reps feel that they're prepared to have an effective conversation with their prospect, to know how to frame their conversation, to be a value-add consultative salesperson versus someone that's asking irrelevant questions to someone that's completed 60% of the buying journey. So what's keeping us from getting there? We know that the buyer has changed. We know we need to adapt as organizations, but we're struggling to do so. We don't have the tools at the moment. We don't have the process at the moment that's allowing us to get to that stage. So some of the big reasons as to what's keeping us from there is there's too many channels and too little time. There's no real framework of how your buyers progress from that initial interest phase when they're a suspect, when they turn from a suspect to an MQL, to a sales qualified lead, and then to finally a closed lead. There's no real framework in how people are planning to maneuver their prospects through. And we have a lot of data, and data is fantastic, but there's data overload at the moment. There's so many different metrics being thrown out there at the moment, and a lot of them are vanity metrics, which don't really mean anything. There's no simple way to cut through the noise and look at the data that is important to your organization. And then because our tools are not connected, organizations are not operating off one seamless platform, it makes it pretty impossible for siloed tools to communicate, share the most appropriate data, pass that prospect through in a seamless process. It really increases friction when it comes to selling and moving the buyer through the buyer's journey. So the question is, how do you really empower marketing and sales to better connect to the modern B2B buyer, provide that consultative experience that helps you close leads faster and tailor the sales journey to every individual prospect? Well, it's really time for the next generation of sales and marketing tools. In this new world, buyers don't only want a seamless experience, they expect a seamless experience. They demand that they are getting relevant interaction from you at the right time when they're looking to buy. You need something that's powerful enough to deliver these tailored messages, but simple enough to manage on a day-to-day basis and scale up with your business. And you need something that's connected so that you're not having two siloed systems communicating with each other in an inefficient way. You need something that's connected, frictionless, and a seamless path backwards and forwards between sales and marketing. Well, here at Salesforce, believe it or not, we think we have the answer. And this is where I would love to introduce you to Pardot, which is B2B Marketing Automation by Salesforce for Salesforce. Pardot is your real marketing engine, your marketing command center when it comes to everything from lead generation, lead qualification, increasing sales velocity, working out campaign influence, and closing the loop on the reporting that you're doing. Engagement Studio is your canvas that allows marketing to really map out how they want their prospects to travel through the journey, how the prospect is choosing their own adventure through the different pieces of collateral, making everything relevant, targeted, and timely. And what's wonderful with our marketing platform is this wonderful technology isn't just available to marketers. It's available to the sales team as well. So you can create and maintain complex, personalized programs that not only enable your marketing team to find more leads, win more deals, and keep more business, but your sales team can have more effective prospecting, more effective conversations, and faster deal cycle at a higher value. So let's dive into both of those aspects a little bit more before I actually show you some of this stuff in action. So Salesforce Engagement Studio really allows you on one canvas to reimagine your prospect experience. You can build a kind of subway system of navigation around different pieces of collateral. Just because a prospect gets on at the same station, it doesn't mean they're going to take the same journey to the destination. And you can really build on this simple canvas a track that takes your leads down a relevant path. You can visualize how each interaction is, and you can surface insights as to what's working, what needs to be improving, and how you need to adapt the message so you can close deals faster and have larger deal sizes as well. When it comes to the sales side, Salesforce Engage allows you to be first. If you're the first person to speak to a prospect that's interested in what you're selling, you stand a 50% greater chance of closing that deal. And that's because you get to set the cadence of the conversation, you get to set the narrative, you get to lay landmines to your competitors as well. Salesforce Engage allows you to be the first one on the scene and provides you with rich insights that allow you to be relevant and be on point with your messaging and deliver really targeted bullet points that are relevant to what the prospect is interested in. So you can be first on the scene when a prospect is interested. You're going to say the right message. You're going to frame your conversation appropriately. And then you can be really productive as well because you're focusing on the people that will close, can close this month, this quarter, and the marketing technology is allowing you to nurture those non-sales ready prospects in the background. So when we think about what the journey should look like using this technology, it's a seamless approach that provides prospects with the right content at the right time, pushes them to sales in a seamless manner. Sales are able to have more relevant conversations through rich, simple data that they're provided with. And then when you close the deal, you get a better grip on which campaigns are performing, how you're driving leads through to a close, and ultimately the ROI that you in marketing is generating. So it's fantastic hearing me talk about the theory. It's far more impactful if we dive into the platform. So I'm going to dive into our platform here and take a look at how Pardot may interact with an organization. So the demo here that I'm going to do is basically split up into three parts. We're going to look at the interaction with a prospect. Then we're going to show how the marketing team interacts with that prospect. Then we're going to show how the sales team interacts with the prospect and the solution as a whole. So we've got a fictitious company here called Lennoxsoft. Lennoxsoft sells accounting solutions software, and they're very at the cutting edge of technology. They're utilizing Pardot and Salesforce to grow their business even faster. And I'm going to play the role of a prospect, and this prospect is a guy called Ron Aberlin. And Ron Aberlin has come to the Lennoxsoft website, and he's interested in learning more about the solutions. So as I said previously, 60% of the buying process is done before a prospect actually proactively engages with you. So he's in that initial research phase. He's coming through to the website. He's reading about what Lennoxsoft can do. He's reading about some of the pricing that's available. And something in here has piqued his interest. So he's gone to our resources side, and he wants to learn more about our training sessions, our networking that Lennoxsoft does, and we've got a product expo coming up as well. It's called Lennoxsoft Live. Now, on here, we've got a great call to action that gets him to register in the form of a Pardot form. So I'm going to click that form and register Ron. And this is where the magic actually happens. So Ron has registered for Lennoxsoft Live. He's going on with his research phase. He may be going to Google to do some more research. But we don't want the conversation with Ron to finish there. We want to continue that conversation. And that's what Pardot is going to help Lennoxsoft do. So I'm going to take off my prospect hat for a second and become the marketing team at Lennoxsoft. Now, the marketing team at Lennoxsoft utilizes Pardot as their B2B marketing command center. In the command center here, I've got a great overview of what's going on with my ecosystem. I can see how many prospects are flowing in to my business, how many we're converting, how many opportunities have been created, how many prospects exist in general. We can see our unified marketing calendar, so everybody within the organization can see what campaigns are coming up, how they interact with each other. Maybe some campaigns need augmenting based off of what's happening as an organization as a whole. So I can see through my unified marketing calendar what's happening. But let's turn back to Ron. So Ron's just come into the top of our funnel here. Now, Ron, as I said, has moved on with his research phase. We at Lennoxsoft want to continue the conversation with highly personalized, targeted content that allows us to maintain the conversation, push him through the sales cycle faster, and get him to a sales rep as fast as possible. So we at Lennoxsoft here have enrolled Ron into a nurturing track powered by Engagement Studio. So as I mentioned, Engagement Studio is my campaign canvas that really allows me to build and visualize the journey in which I want to take my prospect on. And no matter how the prospect interacts with that journey, we are still sending targeted, relevant data that adapts in real time, and still, no matter how the prospect engages, we can still get to them to that track faster. So within Engagement Studio, I've got some great options here. So I can trigger an action that allows me to do something. So in this instance, Ron's registered to come to one of our events. I want to send him an email that says, thank you for registering and providing some more information. Perhaps after that, we want to trigger. We want to listen for something. Did he engage with that email? Did he open the email? Did he click on a link within that email? And then based off of how he engaged with that email, we can continue the journey further. And then we can also check for data as well. So, okay, did he do something? How does this affect his status within the funnel? Do we need to do something else with it? Now, when we select one of these call to actions here, it allows us to build out the journey and see how we want to navigate our prospects down the track and push him or her through the sales funnel as fast as possible. And the most wonderful thing here is it's branched. So no matter how the prospect engages or what they do, we can increase the speed of how they go through. One thing I really like about this is you can test exactly the experience your prospect is going to go through. So, for example, I can say, okay, I'm running a test. Did the prospect engage with that first email I sent? Yes, they did, because I wrote a really wonderful email. And then I can see how they're going to flow through the different nurturing track. And no matter how they engage, we can see how we're going to visualize them to get to that sales rep or to that MQL process as fast as possible. One thing I really like is the ability to see where there are blockages within your pipe. So you may have a fantastic nurturing track. However, the first email you send out in that nurturing track might not be resonating. So with the reporting section in real time, you can see how the nurturing track you've built on this canvas is actually resonating with your prospects. So perhaps you're getting great engagement at the bottom end of your nurturing track, but the first email or the first piece of content you send out is getting a low click-through rate, a low open rate, a low engagement rate. You can change that message based off of real-time data and stats to actually show you very easily how you can influence your campaign effectiveness. Now, Ron has been on this nurturing track. He's learned a lot about Lennoxsoft. He's been provided with timely, relevant data. You've influenced how he perceives your company. You've influenced what he thinks about your product within the marketplace. And he's now reached a stage in which he's ready to have a conversation with a sales rep. So now I'm going to take off my marketing hat for a second, and I'm going to put on my sales rep hat. And I'm going to be the sales rep that's an inside sales rep. I've been sitting away, calling away, trying to speak to people. And now Ron Aberlin has come through into my lead queue because he's reached a stage of sales readiness in which I'm able to have a relevant conversation with him. Now, historically, when sales have thrown a lead, it's generally just been passed over the fence. Like, I remember when I first started out in sales, I would get given an email address, perhaps a name, and that would be it. But now, with this technology, not only do I know who Ron is, I've got this great, rich insight into where he's come from, what he's interested in, how he's been navigating through our website. I've got access to wonderful Pardot score data, grading data. So Pardot score data tells me how interested he is in us as a company. Pardot grade data tells me based off of demographic data how likely I am to be able to sell to him. Like, does he have the right job title? Is he in the right department? Is he in a country I can actually sell to? Underneath that, I've got great insights into the journey in which Ron has taken through our different pieces of collateral. I can see how he's navigated not only through those nurturing tracks, but how he's navigated through our website, through different ad hoc emails we're sending. Perhaps he's been to an event, perhaps he's searching for different things on our website, perhaps he's viewing different pages on our website. Is he spending 10 minutes looking at a specific product on our website? So now, not only do I know Ron is interested, he's a sales qualified lead. When I go to have a conversation with Ron, I can have a relevant conversation because I know his background and specifically what he's interested in. So say, for example, I give Ron a call. He says, Phil, that was a wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed talking to you. I felt you were consultative versus the usual sales reps that don't really know much about my business. However, I'm not in a position to buy from you at the moment because I'm using one of your competitors, or I don't have any budget until February. Usually that would be the kiss of death for a salesperson. And a salesperson would be like, okay, I'm having to go through this usual song and dance if I'm not interested. And it would be up to the sales rep to continue that nurturing. However, with the power of Pardot being built on Salesforce by Salesforce and a seamless integration that allows you to pass back and forth through marketing, I can drop this prospect straight into a nurturing track that's been created within Engagement Studio that's relevant to the conversation I've just had. So to say I just wanted to stay top of mind with Ron, I could add him to the top of mind nurturing track. Now, this is going to activate on the back end a campaign that's going to send Ron targeted, relevant emails that look and feel as if they're coming from me. He's going to think I'm being consultative at the right pace, and we can monitor how he interacts with those emails. And then say something happens within his business. So say, for example, they get funded in November. Say, for example, they get a new CEO and this becomes a priority. If a critical event in his business happens and he becomes more interested, I'm going to get alerted. Whereas if I was a regular sales rep, I probably wouldn't put a task in January to follow up, which may have been too late, and we would be relying on the fact that he remembered to think of us. But because he's on a nurturing track, he's getting timely, relevant information sent to him via email that adapts based off of how he engages with that content. And then when he becomes re-engaged and sales ready, I, as the sales rep, am automatically brought back into the process. Now, I'm a superstar sales rep. I'm in line to go to club this year. I'm top of my segment. And the reason why I'm top is because I not only wait for the wonderful leads that come from marketing, I'm proactive as well. And I'm proactive using Salesforce Engage. So say it's coming up to the end of the month and I need to make a couple more sales to hit my accelerators. I can go into Salesforce and run a list for all my leads, new leads, hot leads, Maybe I want to run my own micro campaign as a sales rep. So here I've selected 8 leads that I want to send an email to try and generate some interest for the end of the month. So I've selected those leads, and using Salesforce Engage, I'm going to send an Engage email. Now, with Salesforce Engage, it gives you access to a library of marketing-approved content that works. So I don't know how many times in my former sales life as a manager, I heard reps along the road saying, what's a good email to send for this? What's a good email to get responses to on that? With Salesforce Engage, we provide there's marketing-approved templates that allow you to select, the sales rep can select one. So I'm going to select a demo offer to send these prospects. It's a great looking email that's on brand, on message with what your organization can do. And marketing can lock down content sections. However, we can also make it so the sales rep can edit the core text piece, so they can inject their own flair. Perhaps they're a sales rep that likes to use humor to sell, or they like to insert knowledgeable industry articles. The sales rep has this template, but they can adapt it based off of their own personality. So now we've selected some great prospects. I'm going to send my own micro campaign that's on brand, on message, with marketing approved content that I've injected my own flair into, and I'm going to send that out to my prospects. Now the great thing is I can see in real time how my prospects are interacting with the email. So on my slider here, although it's not moving because this is a demo instance, this is a real-time stock ticker. This tells me exactly how my prospects are engaging with my emails that I'm sending out. So are people opening it? Are people reading it? Are people clicking on it? This slider will move backwards and forwards based off of different filters and different ways that people interact. Because remember, timing is very important when it comes to sales. You want to be the first one on the scene when a prospect is interested. So the real-time alerts allow me to be contextual, timely, and increase the number of sales that I make. Now, it wasn't really fair when I sent that email because I knew it was going to work. The prospects didn't really stand a chance. And the reason I know that is because I get rich data insights through Engage reporting. Engage reporting tell me how these email templates have performed in the past. They tell me which ones people are engaging with, how they're engaging with them. So I know that when I send my little micro campaign as a sales rep, I know that I'm not only being proactive and sending to the right people, I know that the message that I'm sending is highly likely to resonate. And I also know when someone engages in real time. And they say knowledge is power. I can use that knowledge to be powerful in the sales cycle. And that's really what connects everything together. So Pardot is your marketing automation command center that allows you to generate leads, nurture the cold leads to a sales-ready state, then seamlessly pass those leads across to sales. Sales are working in their native environment inside Salesforce. They get rich data insights to follow up with the leads that marketing pass across. Sales reps can also be proactive through Salesforce Engage, sending targeted, relevant emails that your organization, that's on brand, on message, that marketing has created, and also pass back non-sales ready leads. And then when a deal does close, you've got instant closed loop reporting that tells you what campaigns are influencing your deals and what campaigns are being closed won. So that is a brief overview of some of the cool things we can do in Pardot. Time constraints haven't allowed me to dive into as much as I would usually like to, but I would encourage everybody to reach out and request a demonstration because we can really dive into things. And the most exciting thing about this is we talk about the theory of the industry. We talk about the theory of our platform, but we want to put our money where our mouth is, and we serve our client base, and it's really exciting. So we have clients from small startups to large publicly traded organizations that use our platform. And when deployed within Salesforce, the benefits are astounding. Increased prospect engagement, better campaign effectiveness, increased marketing ROI, which is very important because marketing has always struggled to prove that they're influencing the sales cycle. And then more importantly, increased revenue for the organization. So you can afford to do more. You can afford to plow in resources into the campaigns that are working. So not only does the Salesforce Pardot platform allow you to adapt to the modern buyer, give your team the resources that they need, the results are actually tangible, and that's super exciting. So it just so happens that we have a wonderful Pardot client on the phone, again, affectionately known as the Pardashian, Philip Hall. Philip is with Borrego Solar. I'm super excited to have you on the phone today, Philip. And just to kick off, would you mind sharing with the audience a little bit about Borrego Solar, your role at Borrego, and perhaps which Salesforce products you use?
Sure. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications here at Borrego. We are a 185-person company, although that number seems to be growing slowly every week. And we're in the B2B space, so we only sell solar installations for the C&I and public sectors. We have a national presence, which has been a challenge as a marketer. We have offices in Northern and Southern California, in Massachusetts, in Boston, and in New York, with satellite employees kind of all over the nation, depending on where there are solar opportunities. We don't manufacture anything. We are installers, and I am the manager of a two-person marketing and comms team here, although we outsource a lot of what we do to various contractors and vendors, depending on what the initiatives are in place. And as far as Salesforce tools, we're big users of Salesforce here at Borrego. Everyone at the company is in it daily. And me personally, I mean, in addition to Pardot, which is probably the tool that I use the most, we use data.com, Timba surveys. We have a Salesforce integration with Box for cloud server storage and sharing. A sales tool that we've utilized is Dealmaker, campaign call down, which was from the App Exchange, I believe, Salesforce Chatter, and I'm sure there's others that I'm not even remembering. But yeah, we're pretty big users and fans of Salesforce and now Pardot.
Nice. Well, that's a fantastic setup you've got there. And one thing I'd like to dive into, I think the people on the line would find this particularly interesting. Tell us a little bit about the state of your marketing processes before you added Pardot. Like, what were some of the challenges you were hoping to address?
Well, you kind of brought one of them up, which at the beginning of your presentation, which was the buyer's journey was changing. We're selling a very technical, expensive product. It's something that is not part of people's core day-to-day. It's not something that people typically, facilities managers or CFOs or executives of large corporations are familiar with. So there's a lot of learning that takes place, but I think just with the onset of the Internet and access to information being so prevalent in everyone's day-to-day lives at the touch of a finger, at the touch of a keyboard stroke, it's easier to do that research in the comfort of your own office or the comfort of your own home. And so we were finding that, we don't have a widget. We're not, our differentiators are really our customer, the experience that we provide for our customers, the expertise that we bring to the table, but without having something that is completely unique that you can't get anywhere else. The way that we were going to win business is through creating that emotional connection between our potential customers and our brand. And in order to do that, like you mentioned, we felt like we needed to be there at the beginning of their journey where they're trying to learn about solar and about the technology and how it benefits them and what the considerations are. And so we wanted to change that dynamic from kind of buyer-seller or seller-buyer to teacher-student, because I think all of us at some point have been students and have found that not all teachers, but most teachers are ones that we look up to, that we respect, that we trust, because they teach us something. And so we wanted to get out there early at the start of that process, which we knew was going to take place in a digital forum, and we had no way of doing that other than at the time, email and maybe social media, which we were still kind of trying to figure out how to utilize. The other issue was our marketing efforts at the time when we purchased Pardot. I was a one-person operation, again outsourcing things as needed, but we wanted to be more segmented in our database and segment our database and segment our content so that we were not always putting out super general content, email blasts that can speak to everyone in every market, which doesn't really resonate with a potential customer. Because we are in so many markets, that meant that we were having to create a lot of different pieces of content or a lot of different versions of the same content. And the email marketing tool that we were using at the time was super manual, and it was very time intensive. So we were finding I was struggling with keeping up with this kind of frequency and cadence that I think as marketers we're all familiar with is important. Like you said, it's all about timing, and it's about being there when the customer is ready to buy. I can't wait 6 months and hope that the customer is ready to buy when I send them an email. I need to be sending them an email maybe once a month, and hopefully that within 30 days they've changed their minds to move forward, and our brand is present at that time. So I was looking for something that would help me do more with less, and also I had no way of measuring the effectiveness of what we were doing. When I wanted to try to present to sales leadership or the executive team the effectiveness of an email marketing campaign, I had very little insight other than opens and clicks, and I think we've all struggled with really attributing value to that. And then that all existed outside of Salesforce, so it was really hard to kind of connect the bridge between what I was doing and the impact it was having on the sales pipeline as it moved its way through Salesforce, which was something that we could measure and track. So those were the major issues and kind of the state of affairs that I was looking for a solution for.
Fantastic. Sounds like you had a lot to tackle. So you touched on this slightly, but what sort of benefits did you see when you deployed Pardot in the Salesforce?
Well, I mean, in the beginning, it was hard to. Our sales cycle is really long, so we had to kind of implement the tool and just keep our fingers crossed that it was going to make a difference, and that at some later point we would be able to look back and actually see the full journey that someone had gone through. But immediately the tool allowed us to do more with less. I mean, I was able to write a few emails and create a drip campaign and an automation rule that when someone comes to our website and fills out a form, automatically adds them to it, and I know that they're going to get a series of emails over a period of time that I've mapped out and tracked myself. That allowed us to nurture leads, and that meant that when we did end up talking to them, whether our sales team was prospecting them directly and calling out to the database, or they were coming in by completing a request to quote or a customer a contact us quote form. When we were having that initial conversation, we knew that they had already made it to some level of of their buyer's journey that meant that they were ready to have a serious conversation. So our sales team was spending less time taking them through that initial kind of discovery of the general information about solar and the technology and how it works, because we were able to handle all of that on the marketing side, and then just handing over a more nurtured lead to sales. So they saw faster conversion rates, meaning the time that they had their first conversation and the time they were able to actually create the opportunity as we define an opportunity. That happened much quicker. And also we were able to serve them prospects that seemed like opportunities in real time based on engagement. So they were able to take advantage of that. Customers ready for information, and when they reach out, they can have that first conversation. So not only were we converting leads faster, but we were converting more of them. The other big benefit that took place pretty quickly was just the ability to measure things. Now we're able to see beyond opens and clicks where somebody goes on our website and what it is that they're looking at. So we're able to let that information shape future strategy around what kind of content we put out there. When I see a bunch of our kind of core ideal market the profile of customers, which you're able to do through grading. When I see a bunch of A prospects gravitating to a piece of content, that's a signal to my content team that we need to create more content along those lines, or look at why that content seems to be working so well. So it's really shaped, from a measurement perspective, it's really shaped kind of the strategy moving forward, and also it allows us to clearly track the moment someone comes into kind of digital contact, I guess, with our brand, to the point of sale. And I can now prove to the sales team the value that marketing is bringing, which allows me to justify requests for a bigger budget, more spend in the digital space, et cetera. So it's had a lot of really positive impacts on our business.
Fantastic. Well, I hope the sales team give you lots of high fives when you wander around, because it sounds like you're lining their pockets significantly with all the wonderful stuff you're doing. So
I get more requests from them, that's for sure.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. I think I know Laura's been watching the questions that rolled in, so I'd like to defer to Laura to see if we've got anything from the audience.
Yes, I think we do have time for one here, and just wanted to let everyone know on the line as well that we will be sending out the recording for this presentation, and we can always follow up with your additional questions afterward. So we have a question. We've talked a lot about the marketing tools and the sales tools, and Philip, I think this would be a great question for maybe some real-life tips from you, but this question is around, how do I get my salespeople to kind of change their mindset or adopt these new tools? Have you had any tricks and tips you can share from your own implementation?
Yeah, actually, it's a very good question, and the way we addressed it really was by showing them that it works. It took us a while to get buy-in from sales, just because we already have them working out of Salesforce. There's a lot of buttons that they have to click, and a lot of things that, there's an intense process for us. I imagine every company's a little different. But to add a new tool and get them kind of, excited about it was a little bit of a challenge. But the moment we were able to show using numbers and actual data in real time that this was working, and basically we brought in a new salesperson who happened to use a Pardot at a previous company, and she joined the team and was very excited to know that we had implemented the tool. She and I worked together on a very targeted drip email campaign, and in the first sales meeting after that campaign was live, she basically presented like her own case study and said something to the effect of, like, I spent an hour working with marketing on developing content. We put this thing together, and 2 weeks later, I have 3 meetings set up, and I didn't have to do any work beyond that. And from that point on, the rest of the sales team was bought in. So I think just showing them that there's this value that's going to impact their ability to generate, if they're commission-based or quantity sales-based, then it is the easiest way to kind of get that buy-in. But we've definitely had to kind of create some training documents on our own. Pardot's been a really great support for us when we have questions. It is a new tool. Along the way, we've gone to Pardot and said, how does this work, or what's the best practice here? You guys host these informational webinars for actual customers too, which I've joined and been able to float questions about best practices and whatnot, and that has been really helpful for us as we've kind of continuously iterated how to use the tool over time.
Fantastic. I think that's a great tip. I guess get a cheerleader and show the results, and the results speak for themselves. Well, folks, that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to Phil and Philip for hosting us this morning, this afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Again, the recording will be sent out, and enjoy the rest of your day.